Hello, newsies. Welcome to another episode of Get the Flick Out of Here. I'm your host, Alex Pulaski, and with me, as always, is Kate. Kate Elizabeth is here, and we are still not on time because we are doing a movie that takes place New Year's Eve, and it is now January 12th. Stay tuned for our big Easter special sometime in June.
Correct.
But it's one of those things that I had forgotten about this movie entirely. And then I was looking for stuff for us to do this week, and I found it, and I was like, wow, it's been a long time since that movie was really weird. I wonder if Kate's seen that. If Kate has seen it, we're not doing it because I need Kate to experience it for the first time while I watch it for the 10th time, and then we could have that kind of a fun interaction about stuff. But all I said to you, I believe, was like, have you ever heard of the movie Four Rooms? You were like, no. Great, that's the one we're doing. And I don't know how much you did, like looking into it, watching trailers or whatever before you watched it, but it is one of those things where people that I have mentioned Four Rooms to, and they're like, I've never heard of that. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the cast and here's the plot. And it was directed by four directors, two of whom you've never heard of, and two of whom are fairly famous, one of whom is a friggin' legend. And they're like, how have I never heard of this? And the answer is because it got 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics hated it. It made its money back, and that's it. And then it just faded into oblivion. Like, nobody remembers it. The people who have watched it, as far as I can tell, everyone who's like, I love that movie, who's been sending me little messages and stuff, people who watched it really love it, but people have no idea it exists.
Yeah, no, there's some that I haven't seen because I'm so much younger than you. Like
so much younger than you.
There is like a small gap, but it is a gap. That there's stuff that I've like heard of that I know my sister saw, or like I remember seeing the jacket of at your local Blockbuster or by us at Video King or whatever, and didn't see because it was either not age appropriate for me or whatever. Because I have parents that love me.
Right.
But this one I flat out had never heard of, and I understand why people wouldn't like it, but I feel like the way this got panned is not reflective of the movie. Because I think and to answer your question, because you were like I won't tell you anything about it. I was like, okay, I'm not doing I don't do a ton of research beforehand anyway, but if there's stuff that I'm like, oh, I feel like I remember this or whatever, sometimes I'll poke around. I was like, no, I'm going into this completely blind. What a trip it was, because I felt ill prepared by my co-host for what it was, but it's ambitious, but like it's ambitious, and I think it works. And it was funny that we're doing this after, because it does have one linchpin that holds four, I can't even call them intersecting plot lines, because they're just their own mini films in this film.
That's right.
It's not like the characters in the four different rooms ever meet or anything like that.
No.
It's just one guy holding it all together. I love the soundtrack so much, with this jazzy little kind of through line that is a little bit, I'm a big music gal, so whatever. It rings to me as the East Coast sarcasm that you get in Only the Good Die Young and things like that musically, where sometimes you'll have a really cheerful melody contrasted against something that is incredibly sad or heavy. This music has like this lightness under it, and it has this almost detective-y vibe with it, but like I feel like our bellhop is so held hostage through the whole thing that it's like he's not the one in control here. Yeah. It's really, really, really fun. And I think people that don't like things that are almost, it feels theatrical because of the way it's presented in a lot of points. Like if that's not your style, I get you not liking it, but I think it's an unfair criticism to say that the film doesn't work, because I think it actually works quite well, and so much of it is pinned on the performance of just the bellhop in it, which is pretty fun.
Right.
That is,
Right.
he has the challenge of all challenges in this.
Yes. So again, this was ambitious is certainly one way to describe it. It is an undertaking. It was I don't know exactly whose idea it was. I do know that these 4 directors, their first films were all at Sundance 1992. They all
Wow.
met at Sundance 1992. One of them took home the jury prize for best film. Alexandre Rockwell had a film that nobody remembers from 1992, an independent film that took home the grand jury prize. In the Soup was the name of the movie. It was the first film ever starring Steve Buscemi, who went on to do all kinds of stuff. Probably most well known in the current zeitgeist for the "How do you do, fellow kids" GIF. But
Boardwalk Empire, though, right?
That Boardwalk Empire, sure, certainly,
huge,
but like, but that was a few years ago. He's done some stuff recently, but like, he had a huge, let's say, aughts, 90s through the aughts, huge. Boardwalk Empire was a big deal for anyway. So that was his first film, won the grand jury prize, and then there were 3 other directors there who were doing their first films. And they all at some point decided, let's make a movie together. And this, as far as it would be very odd if the idea did not come from them at that moment. Maybe like a producer went to all of them and said, let's do all of this stuff. But I don't want to give Harvey Weinstein too much credit. So I'm going to say that it was not his idea. And it was actually these young filmmakers' ideas. So Alexandre Rockwell was one. Allison Anders, whose first film and probably the biggest, Gas Food Lodging, was her first big independent film. Robert Rodriguez, who was showing El Mariachi, which then morphed into Desperado, and all of his really cool Mexican crime stuff that he did was awesome. He of course, his most famous stuff that he did was the Spy Kids franchise. Actually made the most money out of everything that he did. But yeah, worked forever. Still does a lot of producing, directs here and there. But like, has his hat in a lot of really cool stuff. Allison Anders did not direct a lot of films after this, but still has a huge resume of directing TV episodes on cable, network, streaming. So she's still working. Alexandre Rockwell does not work anymore. And then the 4th person is Quentin friggin' Tarantino, who, when this film came out, 4 Rooms, was hot off of Pulp Fiction.
Jeez.
That was
the timing of that. Now that we're talking
Pulp Fiction, he was the darling of the industry. And then this film came out a year later. And they did not do this is a film co-directed by Quentin Tarantino, the filmmaker of the moment. Let's release it to this crazy amount of let's do all this kind of publicity for it. He's starring in his 4th of the film. There's a lot of really cool stuff they did none of that. It opened on only 319 screens nationwide and still made back its $4 million budget. And that's it. And
that's very odd. That just came right after Pulp Fiction and they just did nothing about it.
Critics panned it. It just faded away. But I remember seeing, because I was a Tarantino nut in my teens, because again, I went to see Pulp Fiction when I had just turned 15 in the theaters.
Sneaky.
And I had an older friend who was 17 who bought us all tickets, because whatever. But that friend also turned me on to Reservoir Dogs, which was the film that that he was exhibiting at Sundance that year. So like it was a huge thing, and like they did not do it at nearly enough media or anything. But I remember seeing a trailer and going, "Oh, I got to see this," because I loved Tim Roth, who was
So great.
Mr. Orange in Reservoir Dogs, and I believe Pumpkin, or is it Honey Bunny? One of the two robbers in the diner scene in Pulp Fiction, and I found as many of his things as I could to watch at that time, and I was like, "This is going to be great. I got to go see this." And so I went. It opened on Christmas Day, 1995. I went and saw it on the 26th at a tiny little art house. I was one of 4 people in this little art house thing, and I went, and they never carded. I was 16. I bought my ticket. I went in, and I was like, "This is great. I can't wait to show this to all of my friends." It was not in the theater the next week. It played for 1 week in Eugene, Oregon, at the Art House Theater, and it was gone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm from a town that this probably didn't even make it to. Like,
sure.
I'm very, very unlikely that something that wasn't like an up the middle center of the radio dial type of movie would have made it to Binghamton, New York. Yeah.
So I anyway, I remember really loving it, thinking like, this is so, I mean, ambitious is a good word for it, but it's just unique. As you said, like just the soundtrack over the whole thing, that you found a group called Combustible Edison that is all weird, kooky jazz with a female vocalist, and all she does is scat throughout the entire thing.
And like gently.
Like it's
that was in my head the rest of the week from when I watched it. Like it really is like
it's really fun
in your head. It's the perfect complement to what's going on in all this. It's really fun.
Yeah. The opening credits also just immediately like threw me for a loop at the time, because nobody was doing anything like this in the 90s. Was the old Pink Panther style animation of the bellhop going through all of his stuff, and his nemesis in the little animation was his own hat, which I just thought was very cute. But also it's done during this really cool jazzy scat song to this very long, very cool through line opening credits with the animation and everything. Like that's really excellent. And then we get 4 vignettes written and directed by 4 different at the time up and coming directors. There was as good a chance for Allison Anders and Alexandre Rockwell at the time to like blow up and be as big as Robert Rodriguez, if not as big as Quentin Tarantino, but they just didn't. But the opening thing is we meet Ted the bellhop, played by Tim Roth, who is being, I guess, initiated into the bellhop life by a guy who's retiring as the bellhop. I don't remember what his name is, but he's very, very old.
Where do we get the term bellhop anyway? Like, just it's really,
you know where
the
term comes from, kid. Bellhop is so fucking ridiculous. Somebody rings a bell and you hop. But he's like all these memorabilias of all these of him with all these the stars that would come through here, you wouldn't believe. I took Rin Tin Tin out for a shit. But it's a reason. But he puts his own little hat, his own 90-year-old hat on top of Tim Roth and says, "Oh, look at that. Anyway, kid, good luck." And he leaves. He packs up his suitcase and he walks out. And it's
he does give him like a little warning though of like,
yes, he does.
Like here are some secrets of the trade.
Stay away from married. Don't get involved in married couples business. Stay away from kids. don't drink on the job, and whatever you do, keep it in your pants. And so that's his little thing. Wouldn't you know it?
All four of those things.
All four of those things. So
But like what I loved that transition because I think the last thing he says is like, and don't take your cock out. I think it's the last thing he says.
Yes, that is the actual quote. Yes.
And like what I love is he almost implies that like he's just so helpless in so much of this, our bellhop here. And like him saying those things makes it sound like those are things that are in his control. So even if he was fastidious about it and was like, okay, I'm not going to do any of these things, like what comes next behind each one of these doors, he has very little agency in, and it's a huge part of the charm. And I just love that we go from such an aggressive line to what happens next.
Right. So we can assume this is Ted's first night on the job, but I don't like to assume that because it doesn't make a lot of sense. He's really good at the job. Maybe he's been a bellhop at other hotels, but like
or
the way
he was training and this is his first night doing it alone was almost kind of like how I felt. Yeah.
But yeah, basically the old bellhop like giving him the hat and giving him the speech and leaving. I don't know, maybe he was training under him for a few months, but anyway, he's there alone on New Year's Eve. This is the Mon Signor Hotel. It feels like Beverly Hills-ish.
Yes.
It's a fake hotel, but it is an analog for several hotels. When you drive through Hollywood, Beverly Hills, these big old hotels. Like I went out for I was best man at a friend's wedding who got married in LA, and for the bachelor party night, there was a hotel room that they had gotten where everything was like pristine, but you could tell the hotel was last decorated in 1948. You know what I mean? But it looked all really nice. Nothing was like dilapidated. This feels like it was of the era, but had not been upkept as well.
Right. It was grand in its day, like very yeah.
So the first vignette is the one by Allison Anders, and they are I can't remember what they're a title card, like an old silent film title card comes up on the screen, and it gives you the name of the room, either the number of the room, or if it has like a specific name, it'll give you that, and then the title. And I can't remember the title of the first one, but it takes place in the honeymoon suite. And he goes down to the curb. There's a cab that pulls up. He loads up all the luggage of this first woman. This is Valeria Golino. A lot of people know her from Rain Man. A lot of movies in the 80s and 90s.
His ridiculous cast in all of these.
Yeah,
ridiculous cast. Yeah.
But anyway, she's got that wonderful European. It's not quite. I know she is Italian, but it doesn't sound exactly Italian. Like there's this really cool thing. She doesn't sound like Giovanni Vinci. But like, but anyway, he brings her up to the. There's the honeymoon suite. Is where she goes, and in the middle of the room is this giant, like bathtub cauldron with a little Cupid fountain. And everything, like it's a honeymoon suite where you do your thing, and there's a bath in the middle of the room for stuff. Anyway, so she's like, "Oh, this will do nicely. There'll be others who will be arriving. Please show them to the room." The others that arrive include, well, I'll do them not in order that they show up, but I'll save the big one for last. There is a woman who shows up with her black cat and is singing to it in the elevator. She's kind of Southern Bellish with a giant Lacey Evans hat, and she goes in there, And then there's this hippie type who's like, she meets him in the hallway as he's walking back down to the lobby, and she says, "I'm looking for the room for making love." And he goes, the honeymoon suite. Yeah. It's like, oh, don't you need to show me where I know where it is. She says, okay. I just wanted to let you know that I know where I'm going, and you needn't bother with me. And she's just nicely toasted, and she's great. I love her, Lily Taylor. I love that actress. So she goes
was
in.
my favorite of all of them.
Yeah. And then we get somehow in this movie, and again, I do not know how this movie did not like
pop off
simply because you lie to people and say starring Madonna in 1995.
1995 Madonna. Like,
how many celebrities in the world are bigger than Madonna? I mean, if you say there are more, certainly the list does not exceed 4 or 5.
yeah. I mean,
Like Michael Jackson is above Madonna. There may be like one actor or actress in like
maybe,
Madonna is like
1995 Madonna.
Huge celebrity. Madonna is in your movie. And she is dressed head to toe in black pleather. And she's
because also, what else are you gonna do with Madonna in 1995?
Yeah.
Like,
but she also has with her in tow I don't know, a teenager.
Yeah.
With white girl dreads, and she's just smoking constantly, and Madonna's like, "Don't smoke. What are you, my mother?" "Yes, I am." "Then why are we sleeping together?" And Tim Roth, who's facing the camera at that time, says, like, he's this tiny little reaction to the camera. Like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with that. And so anyway, takes her to the room, and then finally the arrival is the main character of this whole thing. It's Ione, I think it's how you pronounce it, Sky from Say Anything. She was also in Alexander's first movie, Gas Food Lodging. She was the lead in that. So
she's really good too.
Yeah.
Like, she's
yeah. So anyway, Ted brings them there. They're all there. It's like, if you need anything else, don't hesitate to ask. And Valeria goes, "Oh, we do need some things from the kitchen, fresh rosemary," and she lists all these things. And it's like, yes, I think we can get all that for you. So then they do a ritual. Their whole thing is they are there to 50 years ago, a great sorceress was cursed on her wedding night and turned into a block of stone, and her husband was turned into a frog, and they are there to resurrect the thing out of to get her spirit, resurrect her whole corporeal form out of a block of stone that they have here. Her name is Diana. They all have very, like, Jezebel, Athena. They all have these very mystically names. They're a coven of witches. So
it was at this point in the film I said, of course Alex didn't tell me anything about this, and of course this is what I'm getting.
But again, this is long in the rear view by the time you get to the third thing in the movie.
I would even argue after the second, yeah.
But I'm saying, each is so different from each other,
yes.
And the only through line is this brilliant physical performance by Tim Roth. I can't say enough about what he does in this movie to make everything work. It does not work at all unless Tim Roth is doing this stuff. It's great.
And doing it perfectly. Like,
yes.
Because of the challenge of he's one guy having an experience over the course of one night.
Right.
But he is in 4 different films in that process.
Right.
So the consistency and continuity of him is so important, but he's walking into 4 completely different batshit situations. Right. absolutely in love with him in this. But yes, I knew there were 4 different. The only thing I knew about this was it was 4 different scenes from 4 different directors. I did not realize how wonderfully disjointed they all are. Like, it's really fun, and I think why it got panned is actually why I love it. But there you go.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I just don't think they. I will say it is uneven. I don't think that.
Yeah, it's a hoot because of that.
Well, but I'm saying, like, it doesn't. To me, I can easily rank them.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I can, and I think everybody else would probably would quibble between 3 and 4. Honestly, I don't think anybody puts 2 at number 1. I know nobody puts number 1 at number 1. Like, they're all very different, but they're all trying to do different things. And this one to me feels the most like this was a script that Allison Anders had in a drawer somewhere, and she went and polished it and revamped it so it could work in the movie. You know what I mean? I just that's why this one kind of feels destroyed. And the fact that it is the first one, this is how we basically are getting to know Tim Roth.
Yeah.
And anyway, the ritual is all of them like what it very specific things that they each brought. I can't remember exactly what each of them brought except for Jezebel.
One thing that doesn't get brought.
Well, yeah, but no, but the Southern Belle says, and they all have to do a little limerick or rhyme before they can throw it in there. But anyway, she brought the sweat of 5 men's thighs, is what the Southern Belle brought. And then the each brought other ones as well. And they all do a little dance after they throw it into the big cauldron in the middle of the thing. But then Ione Skye gets up and she weaves a little tale about how she was supposed to bring her boyfriend's seed to throw into the pot. And wouldn't you know it?
I'll say it because I'm the girl. She swallowed.
Yeah.
So what I actually love about this is she does a like limericky rhyme anyway, but it falls apart because she wasn't able to accomplish what she was supposed to bring. And the disappointment from Madonna is so. What's beautiful is they do not come across as witches. They come across as 5 white girls who think they're witches. And when it falls apart, you realize kind of there's like this moment where you can tell like how full of shit they are that I think is really, really fun in this where and I forget which one of them says it, but the other girl's like, I get it though. Like I've been there. Like it's just very, very funny. Their reactions to like the thing that hypothetically they all came to this hotel for just fell apart. And this girl kind of just like in her little rhyme was, oh, by the way, I screwed literally everything up. And they're all just like, oh, darn. But like, I get you. But great job. Like the tone around it is really, really fun.
Yeah.
But now they have a problem to solve, Alex.
But now they have a problem to solve. And so they say that she has 1 hour to get something here. And so they call the bellhop and have the bellhop come in there, and it's very it's like they say, here's money. $50 if you can make our whatever her name is, I can't remember her name, smile. And he's like, and that's all that they say to him. Then they leave and they hang out outside and they listen to the walls. And she's trying to explain. It's like we are we're a coven, says Ione Skye to him. He's like, we're like a coven of witches. Yes. Right. So he doesn't know how to take any of this that she describes to him.
He's so precious throughout this whole thing.
Yes.
And it kind of launches here. Yeah.
Yeah. And so eventually, I mean, listen, I mean, why not? I mean, sure. I'll yes, for
I'll
$50,
take one for the
I will
team.
make you smile. Okay.
And they're all, by the way, like beautiful and sometimes just like
Yes.
unnecessarily shirtless in this. Like
Yes.
it's not like a
The ones
what a
the ones
tremendous
who are like,
deed.
"Oh no, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll go topless for this. Why not?" And
To which
the ones who didn't want to, didn't have
just
to,
didn't.
which was
Yeah.
nice, you know? Yeah.
Um
Yeah, there's some of the ritual could be shirts optional for the ritual.
sure it's
Basically
optional,
is
yeah, is
yeah, that's
basically where
nice.
we're at.
Yeah.
Um but I literally was like, the old man bellhop just told you don't take your dick
Yep.
out for any reason.
But
And
I mean
here you are, first
she
day.
she did um use a love spell on him. He was
Yes.
saying no. I was told not to do this. And then she's like this little love spell, and you can see little laser beams coming out of her eyes, and then hearts go around his head in a little cartoony thing, and he falls in love with her. And so they apparently they do it in the cauldron.
Yeah, that's
So
the
so there you go.
only way. The cauldron, of course, being a honeymoon suite bathtub, though. So
Yes, yeah.
so fun.
Eva is the name of the character Ione Sky plays. So
She was
the
very
name of
good.
them is Athena, Jezebel, Elspeth, Raven, and then Kiva is the like witch in training, the teenager that is there. And when she disrobes, she has big duct tape X's over her nipples. There you go. And so they were able to apparently they after Tim Roth has done his deed, he like leaves. Oh, she had this like these cherries that were like a barrette in her hair, and she gives them to him as like a thing to remember her by. And then he he leaves, and they do the ritual, and Diana comes out of the thing. Like it worked. They did
It
it.
worked,
Great.
yeah.
That's the end of it. We don't know what happens on these witches for the rest of the night. We don't know what crazy unholy
Whatever
like
weird orgy they're
thing.
having up there, yeah.
But also like, okay, we brought a great sorceress back from
Yeah.
the dead. That feels like that's the beginning of a lot of bad stuff. So I don't know what happens in the rest of the movie. Maybe by the time the movie is over, a bunch of witches are now taking over the planet with their dark magic and their orgies.
I think what I really liked about this was I was thinking of on the show Schitt's Creek, there's an episode where there's a girl who comes through town and her name is Albany. They're really good at naming people on that show. And she's just so full of shit. And like watching this, when I was watching them, I was like, these are California white girls who are full of shit. Like these are not actual witches. And then for it to work, I thought was a really funny thing. Like because they were not named Jezebel. They named themselves that. And they have like this weird sexual thing going on, and Madonna's here. And like I was like, of course this is gonna be silly and not work. I thought it was gonna go in the other direction of like the bellhop is caught up in this in some more extensive way, but like the fact that it actually worked, I thought was actually like a fun little unexpected little swerve.
Yeah.
That they were like, no, we actually brought a sorceress back to life. It was kind of fun because I took them as being full of it.
Yeah. So that's the end of the first.
Was in this, and Quentin Tarantino was coming off of Pulp Fiction, and they did not advertise this to the moon. Is so weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you think of the time that it came out, it was like everybody's peak that was in this.
Yeah, they did not advertise this movie at all. Like there was not a thing. Like it was just I happened to see a trailer for it, and this was before online. You know what I mean?
It almost feels like Quentin Tarantino hated his scene or something, and like didn't want to publicize
I don't know.
it. But
honestly.
It's good. But we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So that's the end of the first one, and I like the little vignettes in between the vignettes that
Oh,
set
the
up
best.
where it goes. Um,
That soundtrack.
there's a party going on upstairs, and they're like calling the bellhop, and they're like they're calling the front desk and like, um, hey, what room are we in to have somebody send up something? And they're like, for 404. I thought we were on the 5th floor. Just call him. What? He's like, well, what do we even need? Ice. We need ice. We're making mixed drinks. We need ice.
Nice.
They got a blender up there and everything. Everyone's going crazy. And so it's like, hey, so Tim Roth comes up. They've got an old timey operator switchboard where he's got to plug the thing in. That's how old this place is. He's got to plug in the thing there and plug in the thing there so he can even answer the phone. That's so great. And so he's like, yes, sir. Right away, sir. Ice, sir. Click. And so they told him 404. They were in 504. And that's the thing, is that the name of this one in episode in room 404 is The Wrong Man. And this is, he comes in and immediately there, like he knocks on the door opens, he walks in, it's pitch black in there, and then the lights come on and there's a magnum gun, 44 Magnum, dirty hairy gun pointed right at his face, and there's a guy in his boxer shorts. His tuxedo shirt is open over undershirt. His bow tie's undone. He's wearing the sock garters and the tuxedo shoes. And a woman in her negligee, tied to a chair with a gag in her mouth. He has walked into something he should not have walked into. And what we find out, this is David. I never know how to pronounce his name. Proval. Proval. Been a lot of stuff. And he suspects that a man named Theodore has been having sex with his wife. Wouldn't you know it? Ted is short for Theodore. He is very confused about why they think it's him, but that's my name. But nobody has called me that for a very long time, and everyone who has called me that lives thousands of miles from here. I don't know what's going on. Please, stop! Don't kill me. But the man, the husband, is obviously out of his mind. And keeps chomping on whatever is in his little vial of pills. So he's uppers, downers, both, all manner of things. And he is trying to get him to admit that he has had sex with the wife, which of course he hasn't. But even if he had, probably not a good idea to admit to it to a man holding a gun in his face.
Correct.
And this is just this
also like can't stress enough, he doesn't look like the kind of guy that's like, not to be stereotypical or whatever, but he's not like the busting up marriages archetype, I'll say.
I mean, I don't know, man. He got lucky with a witch like 15 minutes
that's
ago.
Actually, you know what, that's a really fair point. That's a really fair point. Touché.
So eventually, this is a weird thing because the guy ends up like almost befriending him in a way, because he hates being called Theodore. This is a very long monologue about how people used to call him Theo the Thumper. And then he finds out after that long monologue about how much, please don't call me Theodore because of all this stuff in my head that reminds me of that. And the guy bonds with him because his name is Siegfried. So like we both were teased about our names when we were children. Therefore, we are friends now. Hold on. I'm going to go into the other room, into the bathroom. And while he's there, the wife is like, untie me, but she does it through a gag. So she sounds like Axiom. And eventually he's like, I don't want to do that because if I do that, she's good. And so he pulls it out, and so they're whispering very loudly back and forth. and um he refuses to untie her because he doesn't want to get involved in this. I was told not to do this. Please don't get involved with married couples and their things. But it's like anyway. So Siegfried comes out of the bathroom, and Angela is the name of the wife, Jennifer Beals from Flashdance, and she. This is actually Alexandre Rockwell's wife at the time was Jennifer Beals.
Oh.
So she decides to like get his goat, her husband's, by lying and saying that not only has she had sex with Ted, the bellhop, many, many, many times, but he has an incredibly large penis. And she uses all these different names for how big the penis is, how his penis, the noun, then it makes him have a heart attack. It makes Siegfried falls over having a heart attack, but she didn't mean for that to happen. So she's like, go into the bathroom and find his nitroglycerin pills. And so he doesn't have a heart attack because he has a heart condition. So he goes in the bathroom and can't find it anywhere. There's a medicine chest, but it is just no pills. Lots of other things, but no pills. So he's having a full-on panic attack, Ted is, while a man is having a heart attack in the other room, and Jennifer Beals is screaming at him about pills. So he decides the best course of action is to try to climb out a very tiny bathroom window, 17 stories high. Like it's incredibly, it's not 7, it's 4, but there's an awesome little shot of him with his head out the window, and then shot from 5 blocks away. And there's a little arrow that says Ted.
It's so cute.
It's a very cute little shot. And he's just screaming for help. Help me! And eventually he looks up, and there's the guy who called him out the ice, who's got his head out a window. And he turns his entire body around in the window, so he's looking up on his back through the window with the legs still. And the shot is there's the wall. We can see the wall, but we can also see the legs on one side of the window and the head and arms on the other side of the window. It's a great shot. And he's saying, I have found myself into a situation but I can't even possibly begin to explain. If you could call the police, sir, I'd very much appreciate it. And it's like, sir, are you all right? And the guy goes, ice. Well, what happens if you don't have ice when you're doing mixed drinks? Well, then it's a little too much alcohol involved. So that man pukes right onto Tim Roth, who was able to extricate him from the window back into the thing to miss most of the puke. But the puking guy, played by Lawrence Bender, who is Tarantino's producing partner, produced all of Tarantino's
Oh, cool.
movies. In the 90s, Lawrence Bender was in all of Tarantino's movies. He was just a bystander. He had to have like 2 or 3 lines in all of Tarantino's movies. So then he goes back into the room, and David Proval, Siegfried, has woken up. Looks like he's okay. I can't remember how he gets himself out of this. He ends up running away out into the hall.
Yeah, I think he just
there was they get distracted, and he runs out into the hall. And he bumps into a guy from the party. And he's like, hey man, I'm looking for room 404. And Tim Roth's like, whatever you do not go in that room. And then he leaves, and he's like, I'm Theodore. I'm looking for so this is the right man, the guy who they were trying to get in there, I think. And so he goes in, and the door closes behind him, and you hear the exact lines of dialogue that started the first scene with Tim Roth now being repeated by Siegfried. So what I got out of this is a scene that a role play between this husband and wife that they do all the time because it is fun for them. And they just happen to get a perfect bellhop who was the guy that they brought in for the party.
Yeah, this to me, I loved that it was like verbatim what had just been said, because that really clues you in on it. And I love that we don't know that until the end.
Right.
We're going to talk about the next scene where the end is big reveal.
Yes.
But I loved that, because that means our dear bellhop never finds out. He doesn't know. He will never know that was
He'll
just
never
like a
know.
role play sexual fantasy of this couple, and he just thinks that he slowly escaped the weirdest hostage heart attack situation with someone who was of the same name that was supposed to come into this, who might actually know what he's walking into as well.
Maybe, perhaps. So that's the second one. Now, the third one is room 309. Oh, I forgot to mention, during this second one, at one point the phone rings in room 404, and Siegfried goes and picks it up, and he says into the receiver,
"Oh my God, I forgot."
No, we don't have any needles here, kid. Just a big fucking gun. Clink. No idea what the hell that is. I think we figured it out. But in room 309, we have also I forgot about this. When he comes out of the room, Tim Roth does, and shuts the door behind him before he bumps into the real Theodore, there's a 4-0 and then a missing number.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell at one point that it's really well done, because you can see a faint outline of both a 4 and a 9. So Ted was in the wrong room to begin with. He actually went to 409, but he was supposed to go to 404, but he was actually supposed to go to 504. All of that. He is the wrong man in so many different ways.
In so many ways. And he's just so you're kind of like rooting for him through this whole thing too.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is the one that's written and directed by Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez, this is the beginning of him having his little fun thing he likes to do, which is working with kids. And what a perfect little pair of kids that he cast for this.
My God.
They're so good at it. But this is where we meet Antonio Banderas.
Again.
Yeah. But he was not yet, like, he did not blow up yet. But like it was right before he blew up. So but he's got the slick back with a little ponytail on the back and a little tingle mustache, and he's smoking a cigarette all the time. And his wife, Tamlin Tomita, beautiful Japanese, statuesque, and their little perfect 2 kids, one of whom is this little Mexican boy, one of whom is this little Asian girl. But it's fine because their parents are Mexican and Asian, and so you perfectly buy it. I love the idea that, like, one of them came out and was like the father, one of them came out was like the mother. That's fine, cool. But they're all going to go out to a New Year's party, and they're preparing for it, and the mother is doing the hair or whatever, and the father's like, "No, don't let your mother do your hair. You gotta wear it slick back like me, then you look cool." But he can't slick it back because the way the kid's cowlick works, you can't slick the hair back. It's like, "You got your mother's hair. I can't do anything with it." It's a very cute little scene. And he's very intimidating. And the kid keeps picking up the cigarette that gets laid on the sink and trying to smoke it. And he snaps it out of his hands a bunch of times. It's cute. This little kid. I can't remember the kids' names, but there's the boy and the girl. So we get the husband say, like, "Why don't we just leave them here? Let's go out to the party ourselves, because we don't want to bring them. I mean, Let's go to the party. They're dressed, really dressed up. Like he's in a tuxedo, she's in this evening gown. It's like you can get bombed all you want at the party, sweetheart. He says to his wife. So she's ready to go out and have fun. But with the leave them here alone. No, not alone. With the television. That's what he says. It's like, all right. So he calls the bellhop. The bell a bottle of champagne, fast. Is what he says earlier in the scene. And so he brings up the champagne. It's like, too late. We'll drink. He's like, but I want to drink. No, you can drink at the party. This he says to his wife, which is like, now, how would you like to make $500? Sir, how about 300? Three's fine. The other thing that's fun for me is I had to go back and look at this because basically any dollar amount that is quoted in the film, double it. Because it's about a $2 to every $1 1995 money. So like think of it now. So like if he's like offering him a $500, it's actually $1,000.
Like $1,000, yeah.
So yeah, I'll take that. This is he says all you have to do is check up on my kids every half an hour, make sure they're okay, they're not burning the place down or anything, and then you'll make $500. You'll make $300. It's like I can call out for a babysitting service, sir. No. I don't trust babysitters. They're safer by themselves than with some crazy pedophile babysitter I don't know from the Man on the Moon. So it says, all right. For $500, like we said 3. No, sir. I distinctly remember you said 5 first. Yes, I said 3 last, and 3 is what counts. Sir, this is a pain. This situation. This is a pain in the ass that I don't need. I'm here alone. I was like, you call my children a pain in the ass? No, sir. It is a situation that is a pain in the ass. That's what he says, and he says,
so perfect.
No, you're right. No, you're right. The first time they're a pain in the ass. And so he's like, he counts off $500 bills and he gives them to Ted. And the wife is like, you children are getting expensive. And so the kids are there watching TV, and he says that if you're good, I'll bring up some milk and cookies. So whatever. He says, make sure they're in bed before midnight. So the kids are there alone, just watching TV or whatever. But they keep talking about how something stinks. What stinks in this room? It's your feet. My feet don't stink, says the boy. So then they end up like, he turns on the nudie channel, which is not really nudie channel because she's clothed. She's wearing a bikini. So it's not really the nudie channel, but you're not supposed to watch this. So she calls the front desk and she says, can you turn off the nudie channel? I'm not allowed to turn on the adult channel without your parents' permission. No, I mean, turn it off. It's on. I'm looking at a naked lady right now. He looks at the computer, says the computer says that it's off in your room. I don't care what the computer says. I'm looking at a naked lady. Turn it off. So the little boy won't give up the remote, all this kind of stuff. She's looking through a drawer and finds a giant hypodermic needle. It is enough to like kill a horse. It's a huge hypodermic needle. And she says to the little boy, give me a room number. He says 409. So she calls the number. She says, hi, do you have any needles in your room? There's a big needle in our room, and I was wondering if it comes with the room, or do you have one in your room? And we hear on the other side, we don't got any needles here, kid. Just a big fucking gun. Okay, thanks. Click.
Super clever.
Which is clever, except you know me.
The time.
There's zero way, because she calls the front desk to have the nudie channel turned off. And then she finds the needle and she asks the brother for a room number, and then she calls the room number. There is zero way Tim Roth
up there. Yeah.
that put down the phone, went upstairs to like do the. There's zero chance that happened. there's a 15-second span of time. Her calling the phone of the other room happens halfway through the other scene. There needs to be like a 15 to 20 minute time
gap there. Yeah,
there's not. Listen, it's clever, but I can't help but be myself. So anyway, so they keep talking about stinky feet and whatnot and all this stuff. And my feet don't stink, she says. And he says, you smell them, says the girl, if you think they stink so bad. So he crawls up on the bed to smell her feet, and she kicks him in the face, and he flies off the bed. She grabs the remote and turns off the nudie channel. And this is where she decides what we're going to do now is we are going to play darts with this giant hypodermic needle I found. I'm going to draw a target on this old painting with lipstick, and we're going to play darts with the lipstick. So they're throwing the darts at the thing. At one point, the brother barely misses his sister's head while she's drawing the target. So they're throwing the thing. And then Tim Roth shows up with milk and cookies. We're out of cookies. So you get milk and saltines. They're very old saltines.
So gross.
That's so gross. And so it's like, all right, get in bed. We're getting in bed now. Your parents said before midnight. It's before midnight. Get in bed. Well, why are we going to get in bed in this? Oh, she also said earlier, why did we get all dressed up if we weren't going to go
out? Yeah.
And so she says, just get in bed. Okay. Get in bed. What if you want to be nice, look nice if there's a fire, don't you? Stay dressed up and get in bed. And then he says, close your eyes. Your father says he doesn't trust babysitters. He was very right to do that because I had a babysitter once who was very mean to me. Well, this is don't break the rules and I won't break your necks. Somebody said that to me once, only they weren't joking. So then he says, I have this mentholatum ointment. He says, mentholatum ointment. Smell it. So I'm going to put a little dab on your eyelids, and that'll keep them closed. Because if you open your eyes, they'll burn. And then, what happened when we wake up in the morning? Well, if you keep them closed all night, it'll wear off by morning. It'll be fine. This will make sure that you stay in bed with your eyes closed. And so he leaves, presumably to do, this is the thing, is that this is the point where he goes away. When she wakes up and washes off the thing, she should find the needle, call the room and do the thing, because then hours will have passed.
Yeah.
And he could then be in the middle of doing the other thing. Also, when he brings up the milk and saltines, he's not at all weirded out by the fact that he just had this psychosexual drama play out in this other room. Here, when he comes in, he is freaked out. So he should be, this is where the whole, see, I'm sorry that I have to do this. I can't stop.
No, it makes sense.
But she wakes up because there's fireworks going outside. So it is midnight currently. There's fireworks going on outside. She wakes up because of the fireworks. She goes into the bath. She's got, her eyes are still closed. So she walks into the bathroom and she washes it off. It's actually a pretty smart little kid.
They were great. The kids were great.
They were really good in this. She goes back, sits in the bed, turns on the TV and watching whatever she wants to watch. And this wakes up her brother. And he says, hey, how'd you get the stuff off? I washed it off. You can go do it too. He goes, washes it off. Well, first she tries to run to the bathroom and hits the door jamb. And then he walks in, washes it off. It's really fun. And then he says, get a bottle opener. Because he's going to open this champagne. And the kid is opening the champagne and he shakes it up until it explodes everywhere. She calls the front desk to say something. I forget what it is. She's calling the front desk for some reason. But anyway, eventually the bottle explodes. There's champagne all over the place. And they're like, it really does stink in here. It's in the bed. What is in the bed? So they pull the top mattress off, and stuffed into the box spring, folded up in a way that is completely unnatural, is a dead woman. She is wearing a leopard print mini skirt and bra. We are to understand she perhaps a sex worker.
Yes.
And so she's just obviously dead, eyes rolled back, blood all over the face, and left there. And so then she calls the front desk. And the thing that I love that there's a dead body up here. You got to call the police. You got to come up here. There's a dead body in the bed. Like, in the bed? Like, you saw the body? Yes, I'm looking at it right now. Aha! There's mental automotive on your eyelids. You can't see it, so you're making it up. It's all a dream. I washed it off. You what? Didn't you ever think to do that when you were?
Yeah, she was like, I'm just smarter than you.
Yeah. Anyway, he's like, oh, get up here right now. There's a dead body. So the kid, the brother says, cover it up. So she pulls the mattress back over the body. So he comes in, and the kid is now smoking a cigarette over and over again, the little kid. And so Tim Roth comes in and sees the kid smoking the cigarette, sees the nudie channel on the TV, and what is going on in here? And he keeps slapping the cigarette out of the kid's mouth, who keeps picking it up, put it back in, and the champagne is like spreading all over the floor. She pulls the mattress back, and he sees the thing. He says, I believe that the Jesus Christ, what the fuck is that? But does it while projectile vomiting.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, what the fuck is that?
It's so
and he gets on the phone, like, hello, police. And he's so British in this moment. Hello, police. You must send someone over here right fucking now. There's a dead whore in the mattress. And she says, don't call her that. And I love that she's taking up for the honor of this dead woman. That is not nice. Don't call her that. I'm serious. You send someone over here right fucking now. There's a dead whore. And she takes the needle and stabs it into his thigh for the crime of him insulting the honor of this dead woman. And so he's hopping around, and the room catches fire because the cigarette landed with this champagne thing. He's trying to figure out. Then we can see that Antonio Banderas and before he went upstairs to deal with the dead hooker that he didn't believe was actually there, he can see Antonio Banderas, who he's really scared of. Come back with fully drunk, unconscious wife in his arms. Come back to the front door into the lobby. So he's back, and he knows because he just talked to the kid. The kids are awake. They were supposed to be asleep by midnight. So he goes up there, scared that he's coming through. So when Antonio Banderas finally comes through, I keep forgetting the great thing. Before he leaves to go to the party at the beginning, says, "Don't misbehave." Like the way it says misbehave is just great. Misbehave. So he says, "Don't misbehave." The name of this movie, the name of this vignette is The Misbehaviors. So he comes into the room and sees Tim Roth with a hypodermic needle stuck in his thigh, holding the leg of the hooker who's dead in the mattress because he was trying to not fall over. He grabbed anything he could to steady himself, and it happened to be this leg. Sees the room is on fire. Sees the nudie channel on the TV, and the kid smoking a cigarette. Looks at it, looks at his dad, throws it over his head, and a whole other section of the room catches ablaze.
It's on fire.
and he drops his unconscious wife on the floor and goes to Tim Roth. Did they misbehave? And that's the end of the vignette. It's like this the still shot of him with the needle in his with it growing the thing, and he's it's great. Oh, it's so good.
This one was my favorite. I don't know if that was your ranking, but this one was my absolute favorite. The kids are great. The thing is, they kind of didn't misbehave really all that much.
Yeah.
The worst parts of it were not their fault.
No,
yeah,
no.
They were like,
no.
like there's a dead sex worker in the room, right? That wasn't on them. They were actually trying kind of not to watch the nudie channel. Right. They did what they were supposed to do. But there is that like beautiful thing of kids wanting to act like adults. As soon as an adult isn't in their presence. So of course they're gonna go for the champagne. And of course their cool dad has a cigarette, so they want a cigarette. Like all those innocent little kid things are still so there. And even just them playing with the hypodermic needle to play darts with it. Like if you're a kid and you don't know what's in a hypodermic needle, like of course you're gonna do stuff like that. Like I loved this vignette so much. I thought it was so much fun. And because there's not, it's almost like there's not a ton happening that's unordinary, and then all of the sudden they find a dead sex worker, and then all of the sudden like what they walk into is so misrepresentative of the passage of time. It's really, 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 really fun.
Yeah. I really do love this one a lot. It is number 2 for me. I respect so much like number 4, the Quentin Tarantino one, and he wrote the vignette that leads up to the vignette, which might be one of my favorite parts of the whole thing, the dialogue wise. I love his dialogue, but I also respect so much how the vignette, once they're in the hotel room, consists of 3 shots that are each of them like 5 minutes long.
Yes.
And so you have actors who are movie actors who are used to memorizing 3 sentences at most and then moving on, doing a full stage play. And the artistry of where to put the camera, how to move the camera, how to swing the camera around. It's honestly some of Tarantino's best work as a director is this little 21-minute vignette in the Man from Hollywood. It's crazy. And I also feel like it's the best acting that Quentin Tarantino has ever done is this. And somehow he got through it without saying the N-word or having to put on an Australian accent. Like it was good for him. So so anyway, this thing to me, like the artistry of it so much I love. And I just also love Tim Roth within it.
Yes.
And him like just I don't know. Anyway, so the he's about to quit his job. This is what understandably he calls the night manager who got the night off because it's New Year's Eve. She's having a party at her apartment. And he calls it up, and who picks up the phone but Marisa Tomei. Now, here's the thing about Marisa Tomei. In almost all of the print material, the posters for this movie, you will find Marisa Tomei in it. Playing a character she does not play in this movie. With hair that is not in this movie. Like she's in a gown. Like I should probably load it up. In our little thumbnail, the person they put your face over is Marisa Tomei. But that's not who she's playing at all. So like they somehow you won't advertise hard like in a way like Madonna directed by Quentin Tarantino, but you'll be like Marisa Tomei. I mean, look at her. Doesn't she look hot and sexy? And she doesn't play that. She plays a stoner.
Yeah.
With her hair up in little piggy tail buns on top of the head, completely stoned out of her gourd. And honestly, great work from Marisa Tomei.
She's the best.
Completely against type in this thing. I wish she had done more like this throughout her career because she's really good at it. So she picks up the phone and goes, "Hi, who's this? Who's this? I'm trying to talk to Betty. Betty, who's Betty? This is her apartment. I want to talk to Betty." He's like, "Oh, hi." And he says, what's your name? Margaret. Margaret. So then he has to, he like, you sound upset, Ted. What's going on? And so she has a whole conversation with him about everything he went through that night, including being fucked by first thing that happened, I got fucked by a coven of witches. You got fucked by an oven full of witches? No, a coven full of witches. Actually, that part wasn't too bad, actually. Sounds like your night started out pretty great there, Ted. Well, Ted, there's a guy who's waving a gun in my face. Did it look like Dirty Harry's gun? I don't know. What kind of gun was it? I don't know what kind of gun it was. I'm not a gun guy. It was a big fucking gun. Did it look like Dirty Harry's gun? Yes, it looked like Dirty Harry's gun. It have a short barrel, long barrel. What the fuck difference does it make? Well, it's actually the difference between a 357 Magnum and a 44 Magnum. I don't care. It's a big fucking gun. Put it right in my fucking head. He's just so angry about all of this stuff.
Well, it's so funny because I think everybody's been there of like, I urgently need to get a hold of someone, and then some idiot just like barricading you from being able to do it. So much fun.
Yes. And anyway, she eventually says, "Betty, is there a Betty here?" And sits up from the floor. The person who lives here is passed out, laying down on the floor. Sits up. It's Kathy Griffin, who again was not yet a star, but became a household name in the late 90s or early 2000s. And she is Betty. It says, "It's Betty." It says, "Who?" Yeah, I'm Betty. This is my fucking place. I live here. Who the fuck are you? I'm Margaret, and this is Ted. She hands over the phone. And then she says to the other two women who are playing like Sega Genesis, "You guys want to go get breakfast or something?" They're like, "No." So then we get Betty on the phone with Ted. And he says, and then all of a sudden, all of this weird, I don't know if Ted, the character, is putting this on or putting everything else on, because then he drops into, "Hello, Betty. How are you? You have a lovely evening, did you?" Like he just completely cockneys it up. And says, "Ted, what's the problem?" "Oh, problem? I haven't got a problem, Betty. I've got problems. Plural. Want to hear?" Like he's just completely cockneyed it up. And first of all, there's this big Mexican gangster type poking his finger in my chest, scaring the hell out of me. There's two kids, and then there's rooms blazing afire. There's a great big fucking hypodermic needle stuck in my fucking leg, infecting me with God knows what. And there's me walking out the door right fucking now. Buenas noches. Like no. So she's trying to explain to him why he can't just quit his job and walk out, because the very important penthouse phone looks like the bat phone from the 60s thing, and it's ringing, and she could tell that's the sound of the penthouse phone ringing. No, it's the Chester Rush party. You have to deal with them before you leave. I was like, why? Because they're trying to bring back the Mon Signor Hotel and have more Hollywood clientele stay there. But it was very important that we do that. So he probably just wants champagne. You can do that, can't you? Just please deal with him. It's like, all right, I'll do it, and then I'm gonna leave. He says, "Thank you, Ted." So he picks up the "Hello, Mr. Rush. What can I do for you?" But the whole time he's been like, "Hello, Betty." Like, "Hello, Mr. Rush." Like he goes from like, I don't know, Pete Dunne to William Regal, and it's just there's a very switch thing that I like it.
I took it as the Cockney is who he is. and he has this very put on formal thing
Yes.
to match the.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it.
That's great.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So this is, we don't hear anything from the person, and he's going down this hallway from the private elevator of the penthouse, walks up to this big double doors. He just goes knock 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 with one little knuckle, knock knock knock, and who opens it but Angela from the second one. And he's, what the fuck are you doing here? Relax, Ted. It's fine. That's Theodore or whatever. Is Siegfried here? You kidding? He'll probably be asleep till Christmas. Come on in. She's in a robe with her hair done up in a towel. This, I am convinced, was just so Quentin Tarantino could have Jennifer Beals, who played one of the sexiest roles ever in his mind, I'm sure, in Flashdance, walk around his set barefoot. Because Quentin Tarantino. But she's good in this part. She doesn't have a lot to do. I'm convinced he just added her when he figured out he could. So
he's also loves, because he loves playing with like weird time. I could see him being like,
oh sure,
there's a really fun way to pull these vignettes that are not really related at all to just pull this one piece of it into the final one, because it does add a little something. Like it is fun to do that.
Hey, the bellhop's here, or the bellboy's here. He brings in this little he pushes in a room service cart, and we see on him, and then the camera turns to see a very, like, it's got the penthouse. There's this one level on the left from where he's standing is the big, huge master bedroom, and then there's stairs that lead down to a huge open area with couches and stuff, and then there's a bar in the back of the lower level that you can see from where you are when you walk in. That's where Tarantino is standing. He's playing the character of Chester Rush, and it's very far away. But he starts, he's like, would you like some Cristal, some champagne? And he walks all the way up, and he stands right in front of the camera, and now the camera is right there in his face. And this entire getting to know you scene is just Tarantino's face with Jennifer Beals in the back. And she walks into the room and asks somebody, we don't know who that is, do you have a light for a cigarette? And then she walks back out with a lit cigarette. She goes down the thing. It's almost like we put a camera in the room and it just watch what happens. Like, it feels incredibly natural, that this whole thing, because when there is so much dialogue, and it's a film, not a play. You can tell words are transposed like dyslexia within sentences, but it doesn't matter, because that's how people talk. Sometimes they'll get confused and they'll switch things around, and it doesn't feel polished in any way. It just feels like this very natural thing. And this shot from when we see Ted, and then the camera swings around and sees Tarantino really far away, and then he walks up right in front of it. And then they have this whole getting to know you thing about Jerry Lewis, who played a bellboy in The Bellboy, and he was entirely silent performance. And hey, that guy's got to go to France to get respect. That is not fair. And then the camera pans back, swings back around to see Tim Roth. It's like, I have this stuff for you, sir. Are you in a hurry, Ted? He's like, no, of course not. Good. Then let's not play beat the clock. So he walks him down there, introduces him to people. You can see the camera. This is all one shot, one steady cam shot. It's really artful. And he introduces him to Norman, who's another guy who's like in various states of disrobe of wearing tuxedos. All these guys are. And Norman, Paul Calderone, this great black Puerto Rican character actor that was in all of Tarantino's films. But he's there. And then the camera swings over. It's like, that guy over there is Leo. He's on his wife. He's on his phone with his lovely wife Ellen. He is having a full-on argument with her, and that is Bruce Willis.
Fucking queen.
I treat her like a fucking queen. And Bruce Willis, who
Awesome in this.
desperately wanted to be in this because he loved the script so much, and he was friends with Tarantino from working on Pulp Fiction, but they could not afford his asking price. The entire budget for the film was $4 million. He says, I'll do it for nothing. And SAG was like, you will not do this for nothing. And that's why he is uncredited in the film. You will not find his name anywhere in the credits other than Bruce Willis's stylist to Mr. Willis. His name's not in the credits. He's never listed. He's not in the promotional materials. He can't be because he's not working as a SAG actor in it. So they couldn't advertise
Wild.
Antonio Banderas, Madonna, Bruce Willis, Tarantino's new film because like he wasn't technically in the movie. But it's definitely
That's
Bruce Willis.
Bananas.
Yeah.
And also awesome of him.
Yeah, he did it for free. Why the fuck? It was one scene. He memorized some lines. They probably shot it in 3 days. It's being filmed in LA. Like he just drives down there, does the thing. But also, what a cool experience. Because also, it's nothing like nothing he's done. Like everything action movie, like stuff that he's done. This was a completely different kind of character. Anyway, I really love Bruce Willis in this. It's one of the
he was awesome in that. Yeah, like this was
why
really,
I love this vignette so much is him in it. But he says, "Hey Leo, this is the bellboy." Oh, bellboy, and he's like absentmindedly gonna pay him, give him a tip, and Tim Roth runs up there to get his tip. It's like, no, Leo, not yet. Remember, this is the bellboy we called about 25 minutes ago. I brought up this. Oh, the bellboy. And he gives him a little handshake, and then he goes back on his phone call. And so this is all being explained stuff to Tim Roth, who really doesn't know what the heck's going on. He says,
and has been through so much already. But
I love that some of the lines Tarantino wrote for this is really, really great, especially for himself to say. But he's like, I'm not a frog and you're not a bunny, so let's not jump ahead. Oh, that's very good, sir. So anyway, we find out through all this thing. And again, there's one really long shot where he introduces everybody. Angela, who you seem to already know, we met her down at the pool. Just a little while ago. So she just happened to be here. She doesn't know any of these people here. They met her at the pool. That's it. And I could absolutely see some hotshot, young, new Hollywood actor who meets a really good-looking woman at the pool and say, do you want to come up to my penthouse? It's my penthouse. Free champagne. And she's like, yeah, sure. Why not? I don't really like my husband. We have to do role play to do anything. And now he's asleep, drugged up. So yes, I'll go up to your penthouse. I like that that's a thing that they do. Anyway. So we find out that she's Chester Rush. He's the new hot comedic young actor in Hollywood. His movie, The Wacky Detective, was a very big hit for him. And his new one, The Dog Catcher, is going to be crazy. At one point, he's like, hey, he flips out because he loves Cristal champagne. He hates champagne, but he loves Cristal. And somebody let the bottle open, and the bottle went flat. He's freaking out about it. He's yelling all this stuff. He's like, whoa. Anyway, sorry about that. Or was I? Oh, yes. He said, you were saying that The Wacky Detective was a very popular movie. It was a very popular film. Yes, indeed, I was. Leo, what was the final take on box office? Domestic, $72.1 million, which in 1995 wasn't terrible. Would have gotten you somewhere in the top 20 movies of the year. Good idea. Good number. Says, but Dog Catcher is gonna be better than next year. Let's drink to the Dog Catcher. He says, would you like some champagne? Well, I'm on duty, sir. Duty, schmooty. Have some champagne. So they're drinking champagne, and he's like, what is all of this for? I don't know what's going on. So because then they take him up there, and he shows to Tarantino and Norman the stuff he brought. And the reason he brought all of this stuff was because it is what Peter Larray asked for. We have no idea why he's talking about Peter Larray, but he says a ball of twine, 3 nails, a block of wood, and there's like a donut. That's for me. He shoves the whole donut in his mouth and starts saying stuff through it. A club sandwich, and here comes Angela. That's for me. She takes that away. And a hatchet. It's a cleaver. It's a meat cleaver. I don't know why it's called a hatchet in this thing. It's a meat cleaver. And he says, a hatchet as sharp as the devil himself is what I asked you for. You be the judge, sir. And then Norman says, I'll be the judge. And he runs his thumb along. That's a shot, motherfucker. I'm almost positive he wanted Samuel L. Jackson for this, but Samuel L. Jackson was doing something else. I'm almost positive.
Would fit.
You know,
but he was great.
He was great.
Yeah,
he was great. So let's bring all this stuff down to the bar. Okay, so the little scene where they're looking stuff. So the whole scene where they're getting introduced to everybody, all of that dialogue, all one take, all one shot, 5 minutes long, really cool, artfully done. This one where they're looking at stuff at the room service cart, that's another shot. Then they go down to this thing, and there's another shot here where they explain to him what the whole deal is. That's another, like, 5 minute unbroken take. Like, again, as an actor, I respect so much what it takes for these actors to, like, not mess this up, because then you got to go back to one and you got to do it again. Because when you mess things up in a play, somebody covers for you, you move on, you have to. But in a film, you got to start that whole thing all over again. You're rolling actual film. This is not digital yet. So the film is just ruined. You got to do that again.
Yep.
It's expensive. It can really... Doing it like this can easily, all of a sudden, increase your budget like crazy. When the budget for the whole thing is only $4 million. You got Bruce Willis over here donating his time. You can't mess that up, which is why I respect a lot of what this is. So they're trying to explain to him what this all is. And Tim Roth's like, do whatever you want. I don't have to be involved in this. Trash the place as far as I'm concerned. Just don't break any of the furniture. Like, whatever constitutes a good time for you people, you go right ahead. I don't care. It's like, no, but you got to be a part of this.
I love this too, because the last thing we saw was this guy trying to quit. So the amount of fucks this guy could not give.
Right.
Because has 1 foot out the door. He's like, you do whatever you want to do, short of a dead sex worker. Right. I don't care.
That's right.
Just please let me go.
Yeah. So, Tarantino is trying to explain what's ever going on, and it's like, first of all, I want you to know there's nothing homosexual, anything we want you to do. I just wanted to allay those fears right away. Everyone's trying to, like, and he's like, it's like, and Bruce Willis. Oh, by the way, Bruce Willis. The way this whole thing starts is Bruce Willis is on the phone, and Ellen, do not hang up on me. If you hang up on me, your next call better be to a lawyer, because we're getting divorced. And she hangs up, and he flips out, and he takes the room service cart and just throws it down into the living room.
Queen, like a fucking queen.
Like a fucking queen. What did you want me to do? Yeah, I went out. I got drunk. Okay, what am I supposed to do? Drive home? Run over a busload of kids? What am I supposed to do? She's actually being very responsible. Now but however, he's going to tone it down a little notch or two.
It feels like this is not the first time they've had that conversation. Also
true. But he says, Chester, your way of explaining this to him is freaking him the fuck out. And
so good, because even the way it's shot, like Quentin Tarantino's just like leaning over him. I also love that he says, we're not asking you to do anything homosexual, and then I forget who it is, but someone says, that's right, no weird sex stuff, and the girl from the second scene is sitting right there. Like, the way he's not believing that is
right. So Angela's like, could I interject here? No, you may not. My way of explaining to him is kind of going all around the world, but I think the journey will be worth it. Says Tarantino.
Tarantino too. I just love that it's like a little wink and a nod to how he directs.
And then Norman, Paul Calderon goes, why don't you shut up, bitch? And because they don't know her at all. And she says, bitch, I'm sorry. Aren't you the one who's being paid to suck his dick, cork boy? And they laugh it off. I thought that was really nice of them to not kick her out of the room. But that's it. It says Leo, Bruce Willis says, listen, I nominate myself to be the one to explain this all to him. And they're like, oh, I have a second nomination. I move the nomination be closed. So now it's just Bruce Willis explaining to Ted what's going on. And so the way they say it is that they were watching an old episode of Alfred Hitchcock, the Alfred Hitchcock show, and the episode where Peter Lorre, the one who talks like this, very creepy old dude from the 40s. He was doing. He comes and he bets Steve McQueen's character from this episode that Steve McQueen cannot light his lucky lighter, his lucky Zippo, 10 times in a row. If he does, then he wins Peter Larray's brand new nice sports car. But if he doesn't, then Peter Larray gets to chop off Steve McQueen's pinky. And that's the episode of the Hitchcock thing. Like, these guys are, they say, oh, Peter Larray and Steve McQueen being fucking badasses. I'm like, that's really not all that badass. That's kind of weird. But, so, and then Norman says to Quentin Tarantino's character, I would do that for your Chevelle. Because Quentin Tarantino, apparently, drives a 1964 ragtop Chevy Chevelle. It's a beautiful thing. They bring out a magazine with him on the cover of a hot rod magazine. America's hottest new star next to America's hottest old car. Paul F. Calderon says, I drive a Honda Civic that my sister sold me. I want that car. That car is that I need that car. I would absolutely, my lucky Zippo is going to win that car for me.
I also love, even in things like when they're explaining the Hitchcock episode, to your point about the dialogue being natural, he's like, you would have known it by now if you would know the episode.
You know if you see it. You know if you saw it. You remember if you saw it.
Like, it's just very human speak.
Very great. And he says, and Tarantino says, listen, I am attached emotionally to this car as Norman is attached to his pinky. If Norman lights his lucky Zippo 10 times in a row, he's going to have no problem taking my car. I'm a big boy. I understand what I'm getting. I may be drunk, but I understand exactly what I'm getting myself into. That's fine. I get it. It's cool. I'll buy myself another car. However, if I win, I want to win. The bet is, if he can't do it, I get to keep my car and I get to take his pinky. But nobody wants him to lose his pinky. We're going to put it on ice, drive him down to the emergency room where in all likelihood they're able to sew it right back on. Not a big deal, but it is a bet is a bet. However, in the heat of the moment, it's not inconceivable that I or Leo might not be able to wield the axe. Hatchet, sir. Hatchet. Thank you very much. Because of the emotional attachment we have to Norman, and maybe we don't want to actually be the one to. But that brings us to you. Sober Ted, clear-eyed Ted, just met us and couldn't give a fuck about us, Ted. We want you to be the dice man. I've got to go out of here. And he runs for the door. And then you hear him turn to go, money! And he just hops in one place for a second and turns around. He says, I have $100 here for 60 seconds of your time. Sit back on that stool and allow me to talk to you for 60 seconds. And you can get this $100. Whether you decide to stay here for 1 second more or not. Says, so let me get this straight. I sit down over there, I get $100. And after the $100, I can leave. Just walk the fuck out. No hard feelings. That's right. All right. So he sits down and he explains it with this really cool, artful thing of like adding money to the pile. And what he says is, will you remember? You'll remember this forever. But will you remember how you made $1,000 because he lays $1,000 out on this pile for 1 second's worth of work, or refused $1,000 for 1 second's worth of work. But I can't remember what the exact reason that he says this next line, but I love it and I want to write it down somewhere so I never forget it again. But the line that Tarantino says is, my old grandpappy used to say, and this is the line I love, the less a man makes declarative statements, the less apt he is to look foolish in retrospect. Which is fantastic. And I love it. That's quite brilliant, sir. Oh, thank you. But I love that, like, if you say this is a thing or this is not a thing, and then later you can be proven wrong. It is honestly, it's there's a lot of media literacy problems. I think this will happen. This is likely to happen. This will happen. Well, then you can be proven wrong. See,
right?
There's the deal. So he says, "I'll do it. I will do it. I will chop off his finger," and says, "All right, this is it. We're gonna do it. This is amazing. So we'll all get ready. We're all gonna sit here and watch this. It's all gonna be perfect." So here's the wooden block. He sets this down. He says his pinky down. Norman's ready to go. He's got his left pinky because he's got the Zippo in his right hand. This is a really amazing shot from overhead where they're all getting everything ready. Let's do it right now before I lose my nerve. Says he's got the hatchet, wielding it up right here. Everyone's sitting here. All right, everyone's ready with it. Okay, none of us are ever going to forget this moment. It's perfect. And so, all right, and the camera like pushes down from the ceiling and then swoops in to a perfect super close up of the Zippo lighter. All right, Norman, proceed. Strikes it once, it does not catch. And with zero hesitation, Tim Roth brings the cleaver down, cuts off his pinky. Norman screams. He scoops up all of the money in one moment, in one motion, puts it in his inside pocket, and just little jauntily struts up the stairs and down the hallway. And the camera follows him. It's this again another really great long shot. The camera follows him up those little stairs and then positions itself looking down this very long hallway. You hear everybody, all this commotion as he walking down the hallway, pushes the button. Like he just cocks his little bellhop hat up, turns around, hits the button on the thing, the doors close, and we never see Ted again. But we can hear everyone going crazy as they're trying to like wrap his hand up in a towel. And you see him come from outside of the frame. He's sitting up against the wall as the credits are rolling. And Jennifer Beals is there, is like just sitting there smoking, like she doesn't care about any of this. And everyone's freaking out. And you can hear Bruce Willis on the phone trying to get a hold of his doctor friend who's supposed to be there. It's like, what do you mean he's in surgery? What? No, I'm supposed to be waiting at the emergency room. What do you, plastic surgery? Who the hell gets plastic surgery at 6 a.m. on New Year's Day? And so they're like, we got to get him there. So they get him all the way to the elevator, and then Tarantino remembers he forgot the finger, so he has to run back over here. He goes back down. He runs up with a bucket full of ice and the fingers in it. He slips, and the finger goes everywhere. They have to find it, and we see Jennifer Beals like, "Hey guys, it was fun. I'm gonna go back to my room. I'll see you later." Fade to black. They all get in the. It's so good. It's honestly. It's one of my favorite endings to any movie ever.
I love how, so I mean, when they go Zippo lighter shot, chopped off the pinky, there's half a second between those things happening.
So fast.
All you see is lighter, pinky gone. Like, it is so quick. It is so much fun.
And it's so perfect that it's not the ninth light. It's the first.
No, it's the first.
He doesn't even get it to light once.
I love the way they play with pacing of the scene, because there is so much buildup in telling him what they want him to do, and then how quickly it goes lighter. And you're right, because you think they're going to make it at least to the 8th or 9th one. That's the whole tension of it. And it just goes bang, bang, gone. Like, it is so much fun. And they also kind of said, like, hey, you're also the getaway car in this. And he's like, no, I'm taking my money and I'm out of there. This is the weirdest, worst night of my life. I'm quitting. I'm taking the $1,000 and I'm out. And everything else goes awry. And I also loved, they planned, this is men will literally chop off their pinky in a car bet instead of go to therapy stuff.
Yeah,
this was not a rash decision. They thought this through to the point where they were like, well, the bellhop has to be sober on New Year's and he won't have an emotional attachment. They thought this so through.
It's so great.
And then when it actually happened, everything went to shit anyway, right? Like, the idea that the finger's flying and nobody knows what to do because it actually happened. And oh my God, like, I love how carefully planned it was. And then when it happened, everything still went awry anyway, because they didn't want him to lose his finger. They want him to keep his finger, but like, all of this mental energy went into it for all of it to kind of go to shit anyway. The doctor's not there. like, I love how much planning and anticipation went into all of this, and then to have so quickly everything happen on the other side of this. I mean, this is like, how long is this scene? And then the climax and the ending happen like that. Like, it is
They
so
spend
incredible.
so long and so many words setting up
All this.
the action that takes a second. Like it's great. Like it's the entire thing is, yes, getting to know you a little bit, but really, like when they first explain to him what's going on to when he agrees to do it is, I don't know, 15 minutes. And then he agrees to do it, and then it is over in a second. And it honestly, I do not think the ending works unless it is a second, because that's
Oh, it's
that's
so
the
perfect.
juxtaposition of him taking so long to explain it. And he's like, yes, I will do it. And when he does it, it's so great.
I love it. I love the it being the first one is so much fun, because you've now, there's been so much talk and time put into it, and then for it to just be out the first one
Yeah.
is so great.
Yeah.
Oh, what a blast. This was so much fun. This was
Yeah.
so much fun. So this was your favorite.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah,
number
and
3, then number
number
1, then
3.
number 2.
I probably would go 2, number 1.
2, 1.
One,
Okay.
yeah, 2 and then 1. I a lot. 3's great. 3's its own little movie. You could make the whole thing about those two kids and their mishaps forever. You can make 6 movies of that. That's great. The artistry and everything, and how much I love the dialogue and everything, and the ending is so good to the 4th one. That's number 1. Number 3 is great. I like number 2 because it does feel like a play to me, and that was like what I was. And I'll always remember watching it for the first time in the theater, going, these people are crazy. And then the little thing where like you hear the dialogue starting over again, and it was like, oh, these people are nuts. Like, and just having that, like, all, and the first one, like, it was just never for me. It was this, that's not for me. The coven of witches and that's not for me. It could be for other people, not for me. So it's fine. It's just it's not bad, it's just not for me. But I think Tim Roth also, actually, it's the one where Tim Roth does the least, honestly. Like, he shows up and he has the conversation with Ione Skye.
Yes, that is true.
About what's going to happen, and then he leaves. And it's
I felt like
mostly
that's
about the women in it.
Why it had to start it, almost.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because it was the beginning of his extremely weird
Right.
night. Yeah, I think I go 3, 4, 2, 1.
Yeah.
But it's a toss up. Like, I loved both of those ending ones so much.
Man, those kids are priceless.
They're so good, and they're such kids. Like, I love. It felt like they act how kids would act in that situation. Yeah. Like, kids are clever to get out of things like menthol on my eyes, and they also would do things like, I don't know what this hypodermic needle is. Let's play darts with it. And they also, I just remember being a kid on New Year's and everybody having champagne and me having sparkling grape juice or whatever, and like acting like it was champagne. So like when they go for the champagne, like, I love the innocence. And then the ending scene of Antonio Banderas where they behaved kills me.
Did they misbehave?
Yeah, so good. But the Tarantino one is a blaster. That's one of those ones that it's probably whatever one I just saw.
Because it's just one of those things. I feel like there are a lot of people who consider themselves Tarantino fans who may not even know that this thing exists or have found it, because like it's you. By the way, if you want to watch it, now you've heard us talk about it. It's free on Pluto.
Yes.
On if you the Pluto app, Pluto TV, you can just go to the little magnifying glass, the little search function, search for rooms. It's there. You can watch it.
Don't even need to log in.
Don't even log in for it. It's really cool. Honestly, I like that it's available. But it is one of those things that is very rare. I don't believe they ever released it on Blu-ray. Like, it's just it to me, it begs for a really cool, like, maybe they'll do it in a couple of years. It'll be like the 30th anniversary, and they can get all these people. Like, I want all 4 of these directors to do a director's commentary at the same time, talking about each other's stuff. I want to hear about how this was made, and I want Tim Roth talking me through his process. I want to know everything about. I also want to know if my I have it on DVD, but I don't think it was ever done on Blu-ray. But I want to know if my hypothesis is right, that these 4 young directors met
at Sundance.
At Sundance, 1992, and said, "Let's make a movie together. Let's figure out a way to get this done." I would love to know the origins of it, but also this is the origins of this is where Rodriguez and Tarantino became really good friends and wanted to work together more often. And the next thing that happened for them is they did this, and then immediately did From Dusk Till Dawn together, which was again a movie you will never be able to see. You can see the first half, but it is one of the craziest ideas I've ever seen, and it comes from these kind of guys who say, "Let's make a heist getaway crime film for the first half, and the second half is just a bunch of people trapped in a place killing vampires." Like the movie is one thing, an entirely one thing for the first half, and a completely different thing with the same characters for the second half. And I still don't think that's ever been matched, at least not with the artistry of a Tarantino script written by Tarantino and directed by Robert Rodriguez. What a really great. We might have to do that for this channel with you just watching the first half, and then we can talk about that, and then I can fill you in on what happens with everybody else. But yeah, no, I'm keeping this in. I'm honestly disappointed in myself that it had been so long since I had seen it.
It's really
Chris
good.
Robinson.
I'm keeping it too.
Is it on Blu-ray? This movie, 4 Rooms? I got to find that on Blu-ray.
Well, there you go. I would say this does a better job of interweaving plots than Love Actually did last week. This is 2 weeks in a row. It is a much more simple concept in what it tries to be too. But yeah, this was a fun watch, man. Like I really liked it. I couldn't get over how many names were in it, with how the fact I'd never heard a movie that Madonna in it. By the way, 1995 Madonna, Marisa Tomei, Bruce Willis, Antonio Banderas, like just insane how. Like there's rare gems, but they don't usually have this many names in them. What a shameful marketing department to have done this to this film. It was really fun though. I understand why people might not like it, because it is weird. It is out there. I think a lot of the performance is a lot of why it works is so dependent on our trusty bellhop in this. Because he's just great, and I'm a soundtrack nerd, so I love that little jazz thing playing over this whole thing. It was so much fun.
Also I forgot, like they had the same they have a little fun little thing of a simple whistle version of Sentimental Journey that plays over the kids doing crazy stuff. That's playing underneath all the kids doing crazy stuff in the third one. But I love that they brought back the first little scat thing from the opening credits is now the thing that we end on with him leaving. It's so great. So great. And honestly, this is a good question. I don't know why honestly, it was just like, here's the thing about Rotten Tomatoes that is so weird is like, if you give it 2 out of 4 stars, that's a. So a lot of people were like, 2 of the things were really good, 2 of the things were not good.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's a bad movie. It's really hard to sometimes Rotten Tomatoes is not a perfect representation of what things are, but nobody loved it. Nobody was like, this was really interesting. Yes, it has its flaws, but the performance of Tim Roth was amazing. And those final 2 vignettes, you have to see it. Nobody was like, go out and see this movie. I also they didn't fight for this. They put it out on 319 screens in the entirety of the US. It made back its budget, and they said, we're done.
Good enough. Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody fought for it.
It also
So it is.
feels like something that should have a cult classic following. You
It
know what I mean?
does.
Like it feels like
Yeah.
it should be
Well,
the way
like,
people talk about, and I know it's not as The Room is known for being terrible, but like it should
right.
have that same kind of groundswell of like, hey, we want to
Yeah.
keep this in pop culture's zeitgeist a little bit.
Yeah. It has 13% on Rotten Tomatoes among the critics, but
13%.
on IMDb, the user rating is 6.7 out of 10. So a solid almost 7 from people who have watched it who are not critics since 1995. And in 1985, people were like, no, you know, and yeah, it's a if you haven't seen it, it's really fun, a really fun movie.
It is, and you'll have a reaction to it. You know what I mean? Like even if you don't like it, you'll have reactions, which is nice. Like I appreciate something that makes me have emotions for like it took a risk. Like I appreciate that.
Sure did. Yeah. So yeah, definitely keeping it in. And I will put it on the list of things I need to watch like every 2 years. Just to
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's really fun.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for this. We'll see you next week. It'll be something fun again. I don't know if it'll be good or not, but it'll be fun. And we will decide whether or not we're gonna get the flick out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Always do our hand gesture at the end.